there, and welcome back to Feathered Serpent Tarot. I am here in Mexico on Isla Mujeres, a tiny little island just off the coast of Cancun. And we've had some serious weather, but it's very much in keeping with this week's astrology. So I'm just going to, clarify that I am not an astrologer. I just really like them a lot. And so I like to find patterns in things, and Cancer is really the star of the show this week in terms of astrology. Everybody is partying in Cancer this weekend, which just essentially means, starting today. Mars kind of introduced it a couple weeks ago, but now we have the Sun entering Cancer with it being Solstice. We've got a new moon in Cancer in a couple of days. The themes and the general archetypes around Cancer is family and home, things that really that are our most intimate side. I'm not, like I said, I'm not an astrologer, but this is very much fourth house kind of stuff. This week you'll find yourself perhaps a little bit more emotional than usual, and I've got the Gulf of Isla Mujeres in the background here because there's been a lot of storms. It's been echoing this kind of Cancer theme of emotions that are really swelling up and creating sort of an inner storm for us. But ultimately, this is going to lead us to a place of grounding and a place of feeling more at peace with the issues that we have. So, if I were to be flippant about this week, I might say, grab the tissues and feel your issues, because it's really what it's all about. And so I've made a bunch of notes. I've been, since I got here, I've been pretty scattered. But essentially, we're looking at Cancerian type themes. So we're talking about your mom, mother, very feminine. This is definitely the switch from the masculine half of the year into the feminine part of the year. And so we've got, a lot of unconditional love in the face of trials and, deep healing on an emotional level. This is about holding families together, finding a way to make the best of our situations, no matter what the challenge. We're likely to be either feeling a tremendous amount of grief or celebration right now. Those who are coming to an end of things are going to be embarking on a completely new journey. Those who ended things a while back are now celebrating the successes of how they've integrated those changes in their lives. The only thing I would caution anyone right now is if you find yourself irritable, insecure, overprotective, using things like guilt as a weapon with your loved ones, you're in the shadow side of Cancer. And I've been in therapy for a long time, and one of the things we talk about is how important it is to become vulnerable in order to break through a lot of the trauma or the changes or the frustrations you may have about your relationships. This is a time to also step into a place of unconditional love, even with your enemies. We all have different reasons for our motivations, and so we have to understand that everyone is doing the best they can right now. It's a very emotional time, and not everyone is going to be graceful. So for those of you who are finding a celebration, a culmination of years of hard work towards familial type relationships, if you see others in your world who are not quite as happy as you are, you might want to think to invite them to your kitchen over the next couple of weeks, because they could probably really use a friend, because they're where you're at. Maybe one of the astrologers I follow says that we're in a bit of a 12, this is also the culmination of a 12-year cycle. So if you started or ended something 12 years ago, chances are you're seeing the fruits of all of the work that you've put towards it over the last 12 years. If you're not in that space, you're probably dealing with letting go of a lot of things that you really didn't think, you would need to do that with. So, be really good to yourself. Practice compassion with yourself the most, because it's going to be a very emotional week in our very individual, personal spheres, and we're going to experience the highs and lows, very much an emotional roller coaster. But there's purpose in this, and by the end of this week, once you've let it all go, you can exhale a little bit before we head into a place where we're going to feel a little bit more grounded. Once we get that grounding, then we can really fire it up later on in the summer and early in the fall. So I would suggest for those of you who are having a rough time, try to find the laughter through tears. There's some wisdom in Steel Magnolias in that, this is life and there are sorrows. And, I have to say that with my trip to Mexico, the emphasis has definitely been on the divine feminine. And I feel she's really in her element right now. And she's there to support everyone, the divine male who may be processing issues regarding the patriarchy, just like we all are. And, as tough as it is, as women, we've felt marginalized for so many years, but there are many men who are in pain too, who suffer from patriarchal forces. And now is the time to really embrace the possibility that both men and women have been suffering the same kind of persecution as a result of the patriarchy, regardless of your gender. So compassion, unconditional love, acceptance, and all this sort of thing. And, just taking it easy, making the best of things when it's raining. So really do your best to see that the only thing that's important is to let go of what you think you know about anyone, about yourself, about your family, and to just stay in compassion, because there's a lot of learning to be had right now for all of us. And let the emotions flow. There's been a tremendous amount of rain here in Mexico, a bit of a tropical depression ahead of a lot of sun, and so this is temporary. But the one thing I want to leave you with is my favorite Cancerian known to man. As the rain starts to hit me on the beach, I'm going to say this really, really fast because it's really important. Okay, Marshall, help me out here. I feel we're standing on the threshold of a liberating and exhilarating world in which the human tribe can become truly one family, and man's consciousness can be freed from the shackles of mechanical culture and enabled to roam the cosmos. I have a deep and abiding belief in man's potential to grow and learn, to plumb the depths of his own being, and to learn the secret songs that orchestrate the universe. We live in a transitional era of profound pain and tragic identity quest, but the agony of our age is the labor pain of rebirth. I expect to see the coming decades transform the planet into an art form. The new man, linked in a cosmic harmony that transcends time and space, will sensually caress and mold and pattern every facet of the terrestrial artifact, as if it were a work of art, and man himself will become an organic art form. There is a long road ahead, and the stars are only way stations, but we have begun the journey. This is from the Playboy interview of 1969, a man way ahead of his time, and I'm telling you, he is the best Cancer we've ever had on this planet. And don't be afraid of your emotions, folks. Let them flow. And like I said, if you've got issues, grab the tissue.